Hi, this is Ryan Vincent Logson, the director of Agony, and you're listening to the iWalter podcast.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Yes. Hey, it's iWalter. Apologize about that. I'm back to my old setup as far as using my laptop. I did not do a show, I don't think, last week, or I did, but I only had 3 listeners, and I actually did not want to do one tonight. I'm actually doing it what I used to do when I first started doing podcast, like 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'm not going to be up until 6, so I promise you that. I am going to keep a watchful eye on how long my show is, because when it gets around an hour, if it's shorter than an hour, that'll be fine. If it's longer than an hour, yeah, that's not going to happen, especially at this time, because I've been on a bad sleep schedule. I have to, one thing is, well, let me think. I got a couple things, a lot of things I want to mention. One in particular, let me pull up another page. My eyesight has gotten so bad, at least with with farsightedness. By the way, it's Monday now, and it's January 30th. Only 2 more days left in this month, and only 7 days till my birthday after that. So I'll put in Facebook. I will try to put Facebook in, because I have to apologize on air, even though he will not hear it, because most people do not listen to Walter. Unfortunately, I wish they did, but they don't. So it kind of gets me upset. And I lost a lot of my friends I still did not get my original account back, which I still have lost tons of pictures. And that does not make me too happy. Okay, here we go. I wanted to apologize once again on air, even though he will not be able to hear it, because most people don't bother to listen to me. So, Ryan, Vincent Logston, I just wanted to apologize. The man was very nice. He's got a very good voice, too, without a doubt. Especially, he's got a good, excellent voice for voiceovers and radio when he did my podcasts in the beginning of this month. So, I had promised him over and over again, hey, I'll come up to your event, and actually failed on doing so. And I apologize, because he actually had a show later that night. He was at this thing with this guy Fred Vogel and Shelby Vogel. They're friends of his. I believe they work for Toe Tag. And he kept on asking me and another friend Todd, can we come up and kind of pair join in on a free event. And it was like, yeah, I'll definitely do it. And I kept on saying that. And then when the time came, I kind of bailed out because of issues I don't think I mentioned before. Maybe I did. And I was off for quite a bit also because I ruined my other computer. I basically poured water in there, in layman's terms, or the easiest way to put it. So anyway, I had a friend I've never mentioned, Rich Minjin, who actually helped me work on a new computer I bought, like getting it up to where I wanted it, upgrading the memory and actually upgrading the hard drive, which was a flash drive, and everything's very expensive on this brand new one. It's a Mac Pro, the 2013, which still exists today. The numbers might change, but the computer does not, basically. The 2013 and up are all basically the same exact computer. So, this friend of mine, Rich Minjin, very good friend. I've spoken to him in about 5 years, which was hard to believe. I reached out to him, and he was nice enough to respond and actually put these parts in, because I actually tried to put memory in this computer, new one I have, I think I mentioned the last time I did a podcast, and actually broke a pin setting on the RAM. And it was like, yeah, that kind of voids your warranty, Walter. He was able to fix it very carefully, and I was glad about that. He says, if you do any more upgrades, which I can only go, I got 32 gigs. I can go up to 64, but that means replacing all the RAM slots that I had just filled with, instead of, let's see, 4 times 4 is, what is it? 4 times 4. God, I don't even know my math. 8 times 4, right? Where's my calculator when I need it? Here we go. Because I'm horrible at math. Yeah, there's 4 slots. Each one is filled with 8 gigs of RAM. I'd have to actually go for 16, which is very expensive, and times that by 4, which will give me my magic number. Nope, that is not it. So I don't know how this works out, but there's gig sticks that will make it 64. So 64 divided by 4, 16 gig RAM. Yeah, that's right. So, but that would be like an arm and a leg, no puns intended, on one of the subjects I will be talking about tonight. But yeah, it'd be very expensive, and I'm not going to do it right now. Probably costs $50,000 to do so. Anyway, not important, I guess. Nothing's important I ever talk about. But again, I just wanted to, he actually had a show. He actually, friend Todd told me they actually added another show that night at 11 o'clock. And it was like, well, it only said about a 9 p.m. show. If I knew about the 11 o'clock show, I could have easily made it, and I would have definitely done so. In respect to Ryan, again, who has been a big help to me. I will let him know that, because I kind of do owe him for giving me these long, very entertaining, because I actually enjoyed listening to them, back to them, entertaining, podcasts, because normally I just don't get any listeners, and anytime I have a friend on or something, they generally do really well, and the one with Ryan actually did beyond my normal expectations. It was definitely more than 3 people. So thanks again. I just apologize. That was number 1, and I kind of went into the second one. My friend Rich, again, did help me upgrade my computer, which, again, thank you so much for doing so, because, knock on wood, the computer has been actually working very well without my touching it. Again, it's the new 2013 model of the Mac Pro. I never dreamed of getting one, because the cheapest I could ever find it was about $3,000 or $4,000, and it was like, okay, that's a lot more than I can afford. So they eventually did put out, which was still very expensive, but then I don't want to say lease, but I'm financing it through Apple's credit line, and it was $2,500. And it was like, well, that is a lot of money, but you get, I believe it's 12 months to pay it off. So I divided the payments into 12 months, and it's like basically $60 a week or less. So when I saw that, I was like, well, I can actually afford that. And if I work a little overtime, which I actually did last week too, I worked, I think, almost at least 3 or 4 days in a row of overtime, and that will actually, like, the stuff I added to the computer, at least be paid off. And another thing was, it was kind of funny at work. Way before anything else, we had gotten our W-2 form online. So it was like, wow, this is great. So in a couple hours to one day, I had filed my income tax return, and actually it got approved. So I did the state and the federal, and unfortunately, I still need to do this. It's not a rush at this point, but I really still need to do Berkheimer. So, because I know now that I got the other 2 out of my concern, I'll probably totally forget about the last one and almost won't do it. So that would be a no-no. It would be better to make sure I get that done. I was just glad I'll be getting probably, like, I would say close to $1,000. It's actually over $1,000 back, which isn't too bad. I paid a lot in taxes last year for the money I made, which wasn't like enormous, but it wasn't anything to sneeze at the same time. Unfortunately, got hit that every paycheck was about, I think I was getting taxed about 32%. So that was quite irritating, to say the least. So that's probably why I got some extra cash back, is my assumption. And again, I'll use that because this one hard drive I got for this new machine, that alone, it was an upgrade from a 256 flash drive, 256 gig flash drive. I tried to find a comfort zone, and I did find one. I found a 1 terabyte, of all places, an OEM, meaning that it was one actually designed for this machine by a, probably so many words or less, not directly by the manufacturer, Apple, whoever they work with, like Samsung or something, who makes their hard drives. This is an actual drive that would go into this particular Mac machine. It's not aftermarket. It's actually OEM. So I was really pleased by that. And let's see, the cost was about, and which was, believe it or not, that's decent. Even though a terabyte, you can buy a regular drive for like $50. This was about $650, I think. Well, guess what? If you go through, Apple for that thing. Now, Apple actually did say they are going to soon, it's coming in the pipeline for my machine. The price would have dropped to the same price I paid for it. But right now, you're going to add on at least $200, $200 to $300. Now, that price is going to drop, and I think the next couple weeks or couple months, they're doing a price drop. I don't think they have done it yet, but it was announced that they would. They were planning to do so. So that's good and bad, but unfortunately, it happened. I'll mention it again because I think I already did. It happened during Friday the 13th, actually during the morning hours. Came home from work, and somehow, out of stupidity, I dropped a large amount of water, and I've done it before without ruining my machine, which was the cheese grater. I gave that to my friend Rich because I figured if you can fix it, good luck, because it's pretty badly damaged. I even smelled the burnt smell of electronic components that were not good anymore, so to speak. And because I know it would be too costly for me to fix. So I lost my train of thought. I'm looking at these pictures of this girl, and she's pretty hot. So, yeah, well, anyway, I was talking about the hard drive and stuff. Yeah, the thing is, everything is solid state in this machine, and there is a difference. When I go back, like right now, I'm recording my show on my conventional laptop, which has a 1 terabyte, regular hard drive, which only did cost $50, but speed performance-wise, you will notice the difference quite quickly. It doesn't load as quickly or as fast, and even at work where you have standard computers, it just seems like anytime you load anything, it just takes, trying even just to start up the operating system just takes forever, as opposed to when you get used to everything being solid state, where the word thinking about anything is not, you do not think. Everything is there the second you turn it on. Like, there is no waiting time. So that becomes great, but then you become more impatient with other things. So anyway, I've kind of gone in different couple directions with that. They were the two main things. So again, I could have done this in 2 words, but instead I've done it pretty much in a lot longer time. I wanted to thank Rich for helping me again, and I wanted to apologize once again to Ryan that I did not make it last night. And I really had every intention to do so. So anyway, the computer is in very good shape now, without a doubt, which I'm very pleased by. I have a 1 terabyte hard drive and 32 gigs of RAM, which is quite nice. It is a new machine, like I said again, and there's nothing I really can complain about. It's very small. You got to be very careful with the machine because, unfortunately, this could get damaged a lot easier in my other one, but the only thing that's in my favor is at least it's way off the floor that Anything remotely that would tip over and spill would be out of distance or harm's length from me. Alrighty, sorry about that. So I was actually, Rush was on an unannounced, as far as I know, a Rush Limbaugh. I listened to him during a week. He was actually on he was off for a couple days, so he had other people covering his show. I said his name wrong before, one of the people that cover it, and it was Buck Sexton, I think it is. I said Bud Sexton, but I think it's Buck. B-U-C-K. Let me see if I can look it up. Because I'm going to take a guess at the name, how it's spelled for the last name. And see if it comes up. Yeah, a conservative American radio host. Yeah. God, he looks really different from what I expected him. Yeah, because he works on something called The Blaze. He does cover Rush's show. Mainly it's Mark Stein, but honestly, as far as what he covers, I think Buck Sexton does a better job of covering stories than Mark Stein. But Mark Stein will show in at a moment's notice to if Rush has to take off for some reason, like if he's sick or something came up unexpectedly, he can always get these guys to at least more so. Mark Stein to come in. But personally, I like Buck Sexton's shows better when he covers, but he just looks like a little boy in the face. Mark Stein looks, not that means anything. You're there to listen to these people, so I don't even know why I'm bringing this up. I bring everything up, though. So anyway, he's only 35, though, Buck Sexton. It wasn't actually him, though, but he was one of the people who covered, the other one was Mark Stein. Now I know how to spell it, I think. It's a weird way of spelling it, Mark. It's S-T-Y-N-E, I think. No, actually, no E. But Mark Stein actually had a really good person on, an author. What was it? Anne McHenley. And I'm not going to pronounce it. I think it was Anne McHenley, I think. Anyway, she wrote a book, and it just got released. So right away, I piqued my interest on this book she wrote. Because normally I buy the books if they're Rush Limbaugh's or something. I buy them, I never even read them. I buy the audiobooks, I never even listen to them. So I just collect them. I just want to, actually, my purpose for buying that stuff, because I want to make sure I give my niche, like, hey, this is kind of my way of saying, acknowledging that Rush has done something. If I don't read him or listen to him, at least I gave some money to support that I believe in this conservative talk show host. But this book that Anne McHenley had written, if I'm pronouncing her name right, is called Gosnell, The Untold Story of America's Most Prolific Serial Killer. And I thought I would never read it, because I buy books, I don't read them. I told my one friend, Todd, God, I'm almost at 20 minutes already, that I stopped reading when I graduated from college about, I graduated in 2001. Let me pull out that trusty old calculator, because it should be easy. What is that, 16 years now? Wow. I'm still going to pull it out once I can get it. Let's see, 2017 minus, I should know this, I'm just lazy, I'm going to say. And I can't even find my delete button because I put too many buttons. Oh, there we go. Yeah, 16 years ago, I had it correct. So, yeah, it was like 16 years ago. Even before then, when it was towards the end, I think I actually was out of school before 2001, but technically I graduated in 2001. I was done my classes. And before that, I wasn't doing much reading anyway. But I was an English communication major. And towards the middle of my degree, towards those few years in the middle there, it was tons of reading for being an English major and a lot of paperwork. And I just got to the point, my eyes have gotten progressively, I got them corrected one way and they got progressively worse the other way now. So before I couldn't see anything. Now I just can't see things that are very close. And that's starting to distance itself and get a little bit strong, which comes with age. I'll be 50. So anyway, it just, he mentioned this book by Gosnell. Gosnell. And it was like this woman who was the author, he was talking to Mark Stein. And I was listening in, and it was like, you know what, this is actually really interesting, because it was actually very gross, I should say, because his first name is Kermit, and his last name is, again, Gosnell. And it's soon to be a movie, but actually there is a documentary out right now about this gentleman. Well, I don't know if I want to really call him a gentleman because he's pretty gross at what he did. Well, for like literally 30 years, he was doing illegal abortions and many other things. The abortions are the one thing she mentioned. That was the main highlight when she was talking with Mark Stein. So before I got on the show, I decided, let me see if I can pull up some pictures of some of this horrific stuff that I've been reading so far, which I'm actually only finished the first chapter, but I did read the prologue and stuff, and I kind of looked at that. It caught my interest. Actually, the first chapter, I should say, was titled, because I read the preface. The first, chapter 1 was titled From Drug Bust to House of Horrors. Like, in the book, they compare him to, like, Hannibal Lecter and, for various reasons, and some other, prolific, whatever you want to call it, serial killers. Now, my one friend said that what he was known for being a serial killer for was these botched up abortions he was doing. Now, there's a lot more that I need to explain. I'm looking at one of the pictures. I was actually going to try to cut this into one of his rooms that he performed these abortions. Is horrendous. It's like should be condemned. Actually, he had 3 different areas that he had practices in, and one was between 20 to 30 minutes from where I live, and it was down on, because I put that street address in where he had his one practice in Philadelphia, which actually is on Lancaster Avenue, and it like came up with his name. Yeah, 3801 Lancaster Avenue. If you put that in, or Lancaster Avenue, if you put that in, it automatically will take you to his picture and all the horrendous stuff he's done. Because I put that in because I wanted to find directions. Like, I was just kind of curious, how far is this place if it's technically in Philly? And then I put it in, and it's like, because I live in the outskirts, but not even really close. I live really outside. I'm very suburban from Philadelphia. But it's still about an hour to 45 minutes. But 45 minutes to an hour. But, this guy was like a half an hour from my house. His one practice is the main one where all this botchery was going on. I'm going to keep this tight because, like I said, this might take up a big chunk of my time. Hopefully not. So, I'm looking at the pictures now because they said, like, when they did a court hearing, this guy got convicted. I think it started happening where they started investigating him, Gosnell, for other reasons, though, back in 2009, and the court case actually came up in 2010. So either way you look at it, that was only a few years ago. It's less than a decade. Let me put it that way. And the one picture shows, again, where he did these so-called abortions, and it is like really filthy, really disgusting. The words I use in the book. If you even read, I could read through this book, but I'm not going to do it right now. I would recommend checking it out, though. It was about $30, I think. I got it on Amazon. But they mentioned what they called, and I actually got to see the pictures now, what they lettered A through D, different types of botched surgeries or abortions where these babies were born not as fetuses but actually full-grown babies, because he actually did abortions beyond the allowed allotment of time. Like 9 months, a woman who was 9 months pregnant was getting an abortion, and they'd strictly come to him knowing that he would do it because he didn't care about anything except He got pleasure out of it and money. And when I mean pleasure, he actually kept the infants' feet. He actually butchered off their feet, and he had them in cups, which I actually have a picture of that. He kept them in little cups. He actually had coal vaults, freezers. Yeah, I have a picture here with the statement underneath. Gosnell stored fetal remains in freezers at the clinic, but a lot of these weren't even fetuses. These were full-grown babies. They could have survived even after the abortion, which is considered murder then. But the staff did not always bother to put the dead in the freezer at the end of each day. A former employee said that when this happened, you could smell it, because they said it was a really bad smell as you open the door. So, yeah, that was another thing I did read in the book so far. There was fetal matter and actually carcasses on the floor. I read in the book what I had read so far, that when they were starting to do the investigation, the FBI were like basically getting. He did it openly. They said, "Listen, can we come into your clinic?" They actually did get search warrants at certain times, and he was he basically allowed them to come in, but what they saw was beyond horrendous. Fetal parts, baby parts, not like just fetuses, but full-grown babies that, again, could have survived outside the body, even after abortion, were basically, what he basically would do when the babies weren't born dead, but alive and trying to survive. One was trying to drown it in a toilet, I can't say that word right, and it was trying to swim to get out, the baby. And so he basically just severed the head. There was ones that he actually, it wasn't him, his other assistants in this clinic would actually do the job, too, of severing the baby's head or their limbs to make sure the baby was dead. He had cats that would basically roam around, and you had cat feces and urine on the floors in every area, because some of these women got sick and they were vomiting. These women, I'm giving you like a really bad, quick view of what I've read so far too, and from the book and stuff. A lot of these were, they hadn't directly said it, but like within the Philadelphia and where I live, prostitutes, drug dealers. He was like, actually, the book did say he was pretty much the number one drug dealer for being a doctor of some sort. He was the number one drug dealer in Pennsylvania. Like, he was the one on the top. He'd be like the Heisenberg of drugs in Pennsylvania. Like, he was the main person. And he would get women to go out and get, I guess, he would have them sign out these prescriptions. He would sign out the prescription forms and given to women with no, what do you call it? Because they're basically doing it for drugs. Go to these pharmacies and pick up the drugs for him, and they would go for like $80 a pill on the street. And it was a whole bunch, like Oxycontin. There was a list, and I don't know. I showed it to my mother today in the book. There was a list of drugs that they would get over the counter. A lot of them that were made into different other types of drugs later on. I'm trying to look through the book right now. Not very well. I'm trying to see if I could find that, because there was a list of different drugs, prescription. But yeah, there was drug dealers who would come in there, and he would just give them a prescription. And even though, I'm not doing a very good job because there's just so much information. There's so much information in just the first few pages. But the original reason they went after this guy named Kermit Gosnell is because he was the source of the big drug problem we've been having in Philadelphia for the past couple years, or back a few years ago. It was because of him. The sources came back to him. So this is when they started trying to figure out why. I'm trying again, because I could even read about these different babies and A through D. That was on like the preface. What do they call it? Let me look that up again, too, because I can't remember. Oh, the forward part of the book, there's a part in there that talks about babies A through D, that actually came out later on in this House of Horrors. Was it that part? There was different parts in the book that, before the actual, you read the book. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't find that part on the different types of drugs that he was writing prescriptions out for people to do, as well as doing illegal abortions, which, yeah, it goes into very graphic detail on how they kind of got down to catching or figuring out that it was this Gosnell who was, basically, I'm trying to think, writing out these prescriptions for these drug addicts and drug dealers to get a hold of these drugs over the counter by writing out the prescriptions. And basically what he did is he had receptionists that he would just tell them, just mind your own business. I'm writing this prescription out for this person who has no insurance. And to keep their mouth shut, he would slip them a tip of $20 at the end of the day, the receptionist. Now, that's not the worst part. Well, this whole thing is really bad so far, what I've read. I'm not doing a very good job, but again, I just got to keep this within the hour mark. Yeah, the picture is very grotesque of these rooms that they did perform these abortions. And even when the FBI tried to shut this down, believe it or not, they were, assault. I don't want to say assaulted, but the women that were in the clinics waiting for these abortions under these really horrendous circumstances of the rooms being a mess and dirty and filthy with fecal matter, or not fecal matter. Well, actually fecal matter, feces from cats, fur balls everywhere. There was cornflakes on the floor. He actually, during an abortion in the room he performed an abortion, he was actually eating Chinese food. And the one FBI agent says, to this day, I can't even look at I can't even look at Chinese food. Eating with chopsticks, and while performing an abortion on a woman who was way beyond the point she should have gotten one done. So there was many times the local government in Pennsylvania basically just looked the other way and just pretended like he wasn't doing anything wrong. So it was very difficult to get this to stop. So that's why it went on for so long, because they actually did have different people come in from the government, different branches. I forget they are mentioned the names of these divisions in the book. And they were just told to look the other way, like there's nothing to see here kind of deal. And I'm not even kidding. But there was one that when they were actually trying to get information out of Gosnell before they could actually take him in under criminal circumstances. He was actually performing obviously he was performing a one abortion out of many, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands, because it was 30 years worth. They only could get him on 4 murder charges, murder raps, because actually one woman he performed a abortion on, an Asian woman, she died. And they covered up her death. And generally they say they have to bring that, what was the reason for this death? And they just covered the whole thing up. And there was other ones. So they could actually, those were definitely deaths. The reason they compared him just jumping around like I have been doing, they compared him to Hannibal Lecter because one time when the investigators / the FBI were looking through the rummages of his clinic, there was a plethora of like different, fetuses, babies, like full-grown babies that pretty much were beyond the sense of calling them a fetus, in refrigerators, on the ground, in cat cans, in cat litter boxes, anything like he basically cut the lids off of certain containers and just basically chucked the babies in there. Never disposed of them properly. Had them in, they said, one of those freezers. You open the one door, the one side's a freezer, and the other side is a refrigerator. And it was filled with babies, dead babies. So the one actually he pointed out one time, Gosnell, And he said this particular Asian woman who they had would cause this investigation to go further because this one Asian woman during the procedure of getting an abortion died. And they couldn't get her out fast enough because it was just the clinic was had two sets of doors with a chain over it, and the hallways were such a mess, and there was literally vomit, fecal matter, cat hair, you name it, all types of debris, dead fetuses, everything all over the place, that they couldn't get the woman out in time, and she ended up dying probably from some type of hemorrhage. And, well, her aborted baby, he had kept that. And he was saying, oh, this is so-and-so's dead baby. This was so-and-so's baby. And the guy just basically just like almost wanted to, I guess, he almost wanted to hurl when he saw, like, okay, you're pointing this out. You're not even, like, flinching about. Like, you kept the dead woman's dead fetus. The woman you killed, you kept her fetus. But that wasn't a thing, by the way, because I'm going to back up a little bit, that they didn't compare him to Hannibal Lecter. What compared him was he basically was or even a serial killer. Let me go one step even further back. Why they consider him a serial killer is because generally normal people, so to speak, would not keep body parts from cadavers or people that they killed, even though these were unborn infants. But he kept certain parts, mainly the feet, and he had a collection of them. And certain ones he kept, and he lied about why he kept them. He said, I kept them for DNA purposes. Women that worked with him in a clinic, other assistants, said, no, nobody ever came by for, they wanted a DNA analysis. That never happened. So he lied about that. So they said anybody who keeps remnants of the deceased is generally a serial killer will do that, not a normal person. So that's where they go into serial killer / Hannibal Lecter, kind of his stuff that he did. Again, I'm not doing a very good job, but I'm also running out of time. I'm looking at this picture, and it kind of comes to play when since I started reading this book. And there was other things. His assistants, the people who worked in his office, had no license. Some of them had no license. One of the girls who would go to get blood works from these women for some reason, draw blood, the girl had an 8th grade high school diploma. An 8th grade level education. She didn't even have a high school diploma. She had no experience working in this field. She had an 8th grade education, and she was given anesthetics, and she was given a sedation, needles, and drawing blood with an 8th grade education, no experience, nothing, not even a high school diploma. And that was generally almost everyone he had staffed. There was a woman, I guess, who also worked on his level, but again, she had no license, I think, if I remember correctly. But these people were either non-licensed or had no education as far as in the field of medicine. And he was the only one who did, but he had these procedures. He actually did comment to, during the investigation, he said, given these drugs to people that were drug addicts and drug dealers, he said actually his way of reasoning with doing this, quote unquote, he said it was a way, well, I'm doing my part by stimulating the bad economy. And this was in 2009. Well, guess who was in office for the second term in 2009? It was actually, God, I already forgot, Barack Obama. So that's pretty sad. He says, yeah, I'm doing my part to stimulate the economy by selling drugs, by writing out prescriptions to drug dealers and basically drug addicts and prostitutes. So, and giving these people, the women, abortions beyond what is acceptable. In some of these pictures, by the way, I was able to find the picture of a can open up on the top where probably was a fetus inside of it. Some of his botched abortions that were either refrigerated or the neck was slit to kill the baby, or the throat was slit on the baby so it would die basically by whatever. And there's one picture where the head is actually, I got a picture of one of his botched abortions where the baby is in his head was his main thing. It was to sever off its head, the child's head. So yeah, all around, they actually did do where I read up to in this book. They actually got checked out where he lived, where his house was, and he had a daughter, which I didn't know. And apparently, it was kind of strange. It was like something again straight out of the House of Horrors. His house was very gross. It looked like something from Hoarders, they said. They actually went up to the daughter's room where he hoarded like tons of stuff that was still in the shrink wrap. Handbags by Coach, videotapes that are DVDs that were still never taken out of the shrink wrap. I've done that before, though. And hoarded things, and it was very disgusting. The house was not as bad, but it was just as disgusting as his clinic was, with all the garbage around. He had garbage bags in his house just the same way he does he had his clinics, but he had his wife and his daughter live there. Now, his daughter's room, they said, didn't look too bad, but at the same time, she also had tons of stuff. She had 2 mink coats in a closet. She had tons of dolls, some of them not even touched, still in the boxes, his 15-year-old daughter at the time. And also, they were questioning why there was a lock on her door that was on the outside of the door to the bedroom to the daughter. So obviously, he would lock up his daughter in his room. So the guy had some definitely deranged thoughts or ideas, because he must have been doing something even to the daughter that he actually locked her in her room. But also what was in the room, he said he admitted to it, he had 2 .33 or .38 caliber, I forget what kind of guns because I'm not familiar with that. One was laying in the daughter's room, and he admitted they were both his. So why would he have a gun in his daughter's room makes me question. But just the description, which I'm not even remotely close on either his clinics or his house, the one thing that just stuck in my mind, like straight out of a horror movie, is they asked, can we go in your basement? Because apparently the house he lived in had a basement. And they went down the basement. Oh, when they went in his house, the people had discovered this is only the first chapter. When they discovered how poorly ran and how disgusting his clinics were, they had learned that, hey, we're going to go in, the police, the FBI, and other people from the government, we're going to actually investigate his home. They're going to wear hazmat suits. They're not going to take any chances knowing how this guy he's not up to par, and he's getting away with it. He got away with it for 30 years. So they go into his house with these hazmat suits on, go around. They say they go into the basement to check it out, and he advised them. Gosnell said, you don't want to go in the basement. So to me, right away, that raised a red flag. This guy's got something going on you don't want to know about. So they go in the basement, and they said that their hazmat suits started to blacken up. They started to blacken up, and they couldn't figure out what it was. So they came up, and what had happened to their hazmat suits, thank God they had those on, they quickly got covered head to toe, so to speak in my terms, with fleas. The basement was flea infested. So Gosnell had tons of cats at his clinic, but he also obviously must have had cats at home, so there was a flea infestation in his basement. So that makes me question, why were all those fleas there besides from cats if it was that bad? So I would question if he actually, in parts of the book that I read in that parts that I read in the first chapter, he was actually disposing of these dead carcasses down in Jersey. and other places too. Not only did he dispose of some of them just by throwing them and checking them on the floor or throw them here, he probably threw a numerous amount. I'll find out probably later on when I read more of the book, probably at home, but even in Jersey. He had actually a summer home in Jersey, and he would dispose of things on out in the ocean, like basically literally feed it to the fish. He used it as bait because he had some type, he had exotic turtle or something that was in a disgusting tank in his clinic, and he would feed it snails or something like that. So I don't know. The man was just, I don't even know where to begin. And I didn't do a very good job because I'm just jumping all over the place. But it's definitely worth looking into. That's why I'm making this show pretty much all about that. I just didn't know how grotesque it really was. I heard about the case when it happened around here years ago, not that long ago. I just never put two and two together because they kind of made it not that big of a deal, even though obviously it's beyond serious. It's beyond disgusting. One thing was, I know when the FBI tried to shut down this clinic, there was a lot of angry women, which makes me think, because just like, what was it, 2 weekends ago? There was a weekend ago when Trump got elected, the next day you had all these protesters, abortionists who are anti-Trump and anti-pro-life. And I starting to read this book, and it was like, why are you? Because, I think if a woman gets raped, she should have the option of getting an abortion, but seeing these circumstances definitely changed my mind and probably definitely opened my eyes as well. I've been saying this for the last 45 minutes. I don't even know where to begin, but there is so much, folks, that this book has just, I didn't know how bad, and this was like down the street, half an hour away from my house that this was going on, and who knows where else situations similar to what Gosnell has done in the past is going on still. Because, the situation in Philly and the crime rate has not changed at all. It's still just as bad as it was before. You definitely got rid of one big problem, but there is plenty more. So it's just scary, to say the least. It's very scary. There was one picture I got, and it's a firefighter holding this child, and this child is pretty big. It's like a little kid and all mangled up, but they said this is from this Gosnell thing. So some of these children were more than just little kids. They were little fetuses. They were pretty much little children. So, yeah, I had to shut down those pictures, and I'm getting up to the hour mark. So I did. Yeah, it's 3801 Lancaster Avenue, American Tragedy. I pulled up. There is actually, if you have Netflix, or actually better yet, if you have Amazon Prime, which I do, you can actually get, there's a documentary on Gosnell. I'm not sure if I'll watch it tonight. I'm almost tempted to, because that is absolutely free. That's what I wanted to mention. Otherwise, it was on all the other streaming media devices where you can actually rent it or buy it for $10, but for me it's actually free because I have Amazon Prime. So give me a second. I got a heater on in my room and it's making it very, very hot. So I'll be back. Sorry about that, folks. Sorry about that. Wow, that was getting extremely hot in this room. Yeah, that was the most disturbing thing I've read. So, could even imagine. So I was kind of glad to see, hear about this, because it actually, not that I want to hear about this, but it brings to light, that these protesters, because even this last weekend, I think it was when Trump was elected, it was all these protesters that are pro-choice, and then the next day or a couple days later, thank God, there was women that are pro-life. And I didn't understand it either way, but when it did take to open my eyes when Mark Stein had on about this what do you call it? This Gosnell, and then that just opened my eyes, and it had taken that to realize that this is a very serious issue, and it's gotten even worse, folks, around here, unfortunately, with people, because now the big thing is this weekend you got protesters that somebody actually wrote on Facebook, by the way. Somebody actually had the ball. Some guy wrote, well, don't worry, in 100 days, Donald Trump's going to be shot in the head. And it's like, dude, you're a fucking asshole for writing that. No offense. That is extremely disturbing. Somebody actually would write something like that. But these people are all like jumping on the bandwagon, being the chivalrous, spineless males that they are, to warm up to these ladies who think that they know better than Trump, or millions of people who had voted for him, that they don't know what they're talking about. Like these people are spineless idiots. I don't know how else to put it. So they were protesting today now that Trump had stopped any. One thing he did, which I have to applaud him about, one thing out of many so far in the last week, is he now said that anybody, that whole thing on the government website that Obama put on, that it's bilingual, has been taken off. There is no such thing now that there is going to be bilingual things, at least on the government website, where it's going to be Spanish first and English second. No, it's only English. So, I mean, that was great that he did that. I applaud him for that. I applaud him for at least starting a process to change Obamacare, which people are pissed about. But I've heard so many people who were forced to take Obamacare, like Ed Rick, a friend of Matt's, who it really harmed him. It cost an arm and a leg. People don't, and the people who complain are people who don't want to work or just don't know better. I'm looking at this one video, shocking video from last week I put up on Facebook, of a school teacher shooting a toy gun at a projection of Donald Trump and says, "Why won't you die?" So, I mean, the stupidity just doesn't stop. It just keeps on going further and further. And unfortunately, or no, I should say fortunately, believe it or not, it is a very, very small percentage of morons out there who are doing these protests. It's not a large group of people. It's a very small group. But what does the media do? They make it out like it's like a large group of people that are protesting Trump. No, it's a small margin of people, or I would like to say a small margin of error. So, because these people are definitely a mistake. Let's see where I'm at. Yeah, I'm almost at my hour mark, and I'm going to keep up with that. So yeah, it's amazing that like even the Philadelphia airport, and then it was where else? And all the airports, they're all like running these protests. And I know right where it was, because the Philadelphia airport, at least, I've been down there many times when I go to concerts. To go to what is it? I want to say, what is it called? Wells Fargo. I went to the one football stadium down there to see Taylor Swift a couple years ago, which I don't know if I'll be seeing these people anytime soon again, because they're all anti-Trump, these celebrities. I do like what they sang in the past, but not any longer almost. So I'm using that questionably because, you know me, wishy-washy on the way I stick with things. By the way, you got to check out, if folks, my Facebook page. There's this one girl. She is really hot. Her name's Nicole Arbor or something. I don't know. But she is just busting feminists. Like, basically, she is chewing them a new asshole on how stupid they are. And, again, she's really hot. She's got this video. I have the sound down. I got to figure out how long it is, actually. And it was the funniest thing I've seen. It's about 5 minutes long. She's going off about, you know, how feminists are and basically are more manly looking, the ones fighting. And she says, hey, you know, she says some pretty, what do you call it? off-color jokes and about women, these feminists, how, hey, I have a right to my vagina and stuff, and she's just ripping a new asshole about that. I don't know how else to put it. But the stuff she says is a little bit more, probably could be taken much more offensively, but I found it, without a doubt, the funniest thing I've ever saw. So I have to give her kudos for what she was saying in this little comedic. It's probably on YouTube too. So let me see. Let me go back. Let's see. She probably is a YouTuber. Maybe not, because it says only share. She's actually got 46K comments. That's 46,000, but 193 reactions. Well, I'm sure because, hey, again, this is about a year ago, though, but this actually fits very appropriately with now. I got to like her, too, because it was the funniest thing I've ever saw. She actually was able to stick up about this. She's proud to be a hot-looking woman, and I don't blame her, but she's not saying, oh, you can't look and this other stuff. So, again, I got to applaud her for that, sticking up for what she believes in, and it's not on the side of the feminazis. So that's what I really liked about her. Actually, it was kind of funny. I had to question this with a friend. I did not leave in a message for my friend Matt. And I did find, in case you want to give some throwback on this dickhead, his name is David Trott. And he's the one who basically, I believe this is a threat to my... Oh, wait, maybe I apologize. It wasn't David Trott. David Trott actually apologized. He's not the dickhead. The dickhead, David Trott, actually is the person who is like me. He's a conservative, but he found some post that really pissed him off by this guy, Ted Kornblum, Kornblum. And I don't know where he got this post from, but he found it from this guy, Ted Kornblum, who had wrote, rest easy, people. It takes only 100 days till Trump gets a bullet in the head, ! So that is a major dickhead. So, yeah, you got idiots like that who want to basically charm the pants off of these masculine-looking feminazis, trying to get on their side, and the way he does it is by writing shit like that. That really pisses me off. So I apologize. It wasn't David Trott, but it was this guy, Ted Kornblum. Just the way it sounds is the way it's spelled. There was something else I was going to mention, and I lost my train of thought and whatever. But yeah, I'm actually getting to my 3 minutes left on my hour mark. So yeah, it's very disturbing with these people who, again, they're more than just radical. They're dangerous, and it's a small amount of people, but it really scares me. The stupidity of these people with these protests, and heaven forbid. Oh, okay, I remember now. One of the girls at work, we're on different sides on, I figured out, on our politics. This may take me a little over the mark, but she's been a big help. She's a union rep that I have. She's been a big help to me. I love her to death, but she kind of just pointed out, she says, be careful what you say, because where I work, people have lost their friendships and actually got into really big fights over this situation with Trump being our new president. So she said, just be careful what you say. She doesn't really care. She pointed directly out. She said, I know you like Trump and that you support him and you talk about him. Just be very careful for the fact that it's been pretty ugly around even where I work. So I mentioned this before to a friend, and this is where this friend of mine from work and union representative actually took my side on something, and I said, is it just me? Because I have my friend Matt Tarns, Matthew, you always pick on me that it's the best way I can put it, Matt. But when I say, hey, this girl is not giving me the time of day, and or I'm just using it hypothetically, oh, this girl is just being nasty to me. It's always got the situation turns into the situation that it's got to be me, or you're probably just exaggerating the truth. So this time I did not, but I'm trying to get to a point with this, by the way. But there's this one girl at work who she just got hired. She's under probation still. You get like, where I work, it used to be 3 months probation. They now have moved it up to 6 months that you're on probation period. So this girl has only gotten hired about a month and a half, 2 months ago. She came in very nice, and since this election, everything like that, her attitude has went from night until day, where now she just is very obnoxious, and if you're not at the same level of employment that she is, as far as what your position is, you are a piece of dirt. So she literally just pushes you aside, walks right by you, and walks very stiff, and just rolls her head up and just walks by like you didn't even say anything, like you're not even worth speaking to. And a lot of this happened with this particular individual. Now, there's other individuals like her, but she's like the worst. So she's my protagonist. And it has actually taken me over my hour mark. So this girl had really pissed me off to the point that I had to tell this union rep, this girl that has been helping me out. And I said, yeah, so-and-so has just been really obnoxious. I said, I'm ready to tell her off. She says, no, don't worry about it. She said, and she pointed out in a very vivid description of who I was talking about, this union rep. And she said, yeah, she's been doing it to everybody. And she said, the union rep said, this girl walks around, quote unquote, like every guy is hitting on her. So you might see where I'm going with this, and I'll explain in a minute just in case you do not see where I'm going with it. But she said, yeah, the girl goes around, and she's like that to everybody. And she says, this union rep of mine, I said, well, she's only been here for like a little over a month. She actually is still on probation. And she says, really? And I said, yeah. And the girl I talked to, the union rep, she's got a degree from a very prestigious college herself. She's actually looking to get a master's. And she said, this girl needs to know that just because we're not on the same level job you are, we actually have just as much education, if not more, than you do. And we get paid as much as you do, and maybe even more, because we've been here for the one girl that I'm talking about, the union rep. She's been there longer than I have. She's been there for probably almost 15 years or whatever. So, or something like that. But the thing is, you don't treat people like that. And I think a lot of this gets started, especially with this girl. One is she just got a boyfriend. It was obvious. She talks about it. Like, so now she's above everybody else, because now she's not only above as far as other things, she's got a boyfriend. So this gave her the instant arrogant attitude. So the shop representative I talked to said, I need to knock her off this block, knock this chip off her shoulder, because she said it really is pissing me off as well. And it was like, wow, so you're pissed off as much as I am then. And it was like, wow, this is kind of weird. And she said, yeah, she's really pissing me off too. So when I heard this, folks, it was like, so this is where I'm trying to get with this. Yeah, it's not me. It's not me just focusing like, hey, that it's other people are having situations that this girl is just basically acting very rude. And the shop representative, or the union representative, said, yeah, she walks, and she was showing me how she was walking very stiff and abrupt, like, you don't talk to me, I'm better than you, kind of nonverbal communication was what this particular girl was doing. But where I'm trying to get with this, folks, is that this particular individual, why did this attitude all of a sudden come up? Well, now that Trump's been in office and people are being constantly brainwashed that, now that you can grab a woman's vagina automatically, every male is now going to be grabbing a woman's vagina. You need to protect yourself. You need to put a phallic pink symbol on your head or on your chest showing that, hey, I'm a woman and you can't touch my vagina, because if you do, I'm going to break your hands or I'm going to kill you, is the nonsense that is in this particular millennial's age. I even use that word with a girl who doesn't think on the same line I do. And, she was extremely upset with the same girl that I am. And I was just kind of pleased to see that, hey, I'm not the only one who is extremely upset about this. So yeah, it was just like a refreshing change from what I'm used to as far as a norm. So sorry folks, I've been buying a lot of stupid crap online, but because it's my birthday. It's coming up soon, so I'm going hog wild. I actually got to get tickets for this comic convention coming up in March too. I'll have no money left, but I will try. But anyway, folks, this is Walter from iWalter. And before I would go any further, because I have tons to talk about, like the voter fraud going on and all this other crap that is now coming to light with Trump, I will make one prediction. I did make it with my friend Matt. I apologize, Matt, for bringing you up, but I just had to point out that, yes, when I talk about certain things, don't always include or assume, not include, but assume that it's me just from past experiences with me that assume that, hey, Walter, you're just kind of exaggerating what's really going on with you. It's not cool. It actually is the truth a lot of times, and I am not exaggerating 99% of the times, or maybe, okay, I'll cut it back to 90% of the time of what you think I do. But my prediction is you're going to see that this 5% unemployment rate is going to skyrocket with Trump miraculously in a matter of weeks, before this 100 days probably is even up, is my guess, where you're going to see that, wait a minute, the unemployment rate is actually at this all-time new high that never was seen with Obama. What is going on here? Now it's like, it's so high, it's like unbelievable. Like, no offense, but I hate to tell you guys, but your unemployment rate doesn't skyrocket the instant that Obama steps off the dance floor. I mean, it's been there. It's just been hidden until now. So, rude awakening, just to let you know. Anyway, it's almost 10 after, so thanks, folks. This is Walter from iWalter. Yes, I'm signing off. Maybe I'll get my 3 listeners again. I'm hoping to get more, but thanks again, and I am signing off for now.